Confidence. It's something that we all want, need, and display. Hey, welcome to another Rare Leaders Conversation. I am Tony Jalen, joined by the wonderful. What's your name again?
Well, I thought you were going to say it. Danielle Jalen.
Danielle Jalen. This week we're going to be talking about how to have and improve confidence. I don't know about you, Danielle, but I've heard this phrase throughout my life: fake it till you make it. And that phrase has evolved for me, and it's now about faith it to make it. So in today's conversation, we're going to talk about, what is confidence? What does it mean to us? Also, what are some ways to go ahead and build your confidence? So I think we first got to start out with, I think there's two types of confidence. I think there's the confidence and belief you have in yourself, and there's a confidence and belief in doing an action or an activity. What are your thoughts, Danielle?
I think they're kind of the same thing.
So,
But
well, here's what I mean by that. So, for example, all right, I start a new project, right? I go ahead and do a new venture or whatnot. I have the confidence in in my abilities and who I am. Like, I can go ahead and figure this out. But then there's also the confidence of like me putting together a bookshelf, right? I'm confident in me, but actually the confidence in actually putting that bookshelf together all the time, like, "Oh, I don't know about this." That's what I mean by that. I mean, I may not be confident to do brain surgery, but I'm confident to go ahead and help you solve a problem. So that's what I mean by that. Now, what do you think?
well, I think that's understanding what your actual abilities are capable of doing and what's better left to somebody else.
Yeah, I guess that's true too. But I think, I think sometimes when we go ahead and do something like there's a story about Richard Branson and how people ask him to go do something like a business opportunity. He goes, great, let's do it. I can do it. He had no clue how to do it, but he had this mindset that he can go ahead and just figure it out. So I think when it comes to building our confidence, for me at least, I build confidence by doing it. And honestly, what happens sometimes for me is that I come sometimes to go into situations overconfident. I think sometimes my good looks and talent can get me through it. And then I get it down with it. I'm like, oh, I could have done so much better. What do you think has been some of your breakthroughs when doing better and like building your confidence?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to just focusing on what I can control in the situation and then just can like not overthinking the process of it and just doing and being able to look at it as a learning experience out of that, um, versus not. I think in the past I would just not do it and I would push it off on to you or um, not even take the chance on doing it because I didn't want to fail.
Hmm. That reminds me of a quote I just heard from Wayne Dwyer. He says, if you change the way you look at things, the way you look at things change. And that's what I'm hearing you say. Is before you go ahead and look at things like, hey, not putting yourself out there with the opportunity to fail or take that risk. And now what you've done is like you've changed your perspective on it in terms of focusing on things that you can control and looking at it as a learning opportunity.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I mean, I think that's the same way with me. Is I think especially if you've achieved success at times, for me, part of my mindset is okay, people expect me to succeed. At least that's what I sometimes feel. And not putting myself in a situation to fail has held me back at times. Why do you think that is for people? Is it ego? Is it comfort? Like what is it that keeps you from going ahead and pushing through and I think by pushing through you build confidence.
Well, I expect you to win all the time and succeed, so I don't know. I think a lot of times what happens is we're more worried about what people are going to think if we don't deliver to what we think they are expecting from us. Where if we are able to just change our perspective in, you know, what am I doing to help you versus what are you going to think of me if I don't provide what I think we set expectations on ourselves of what other people are expecting from us when really we just have to offer what we have and know that if that's our best that we have, that's what we should be okay with.
I think too is to that point is, if it's a one-on-one situation, asking them what they're expecting out of it. Because I think sometimes the story we put in our head of what people expect out of us versus what they're really expecting out of us can be two different things, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, I just recently, I remember I had a presentation about maybe a month ago, and that feels like a couple of weeks ago, but a month ago. And I felt pretty confident in it, but I think there was a part of me said, I could have prepared just a little bit more for it. And I was upset with myself that when the presentation happened, it was going great, and then all of a sudden it wasn't going great, and I let that derail me to a point. And that goes back to your point of in building confidence, reflecting on it as a learning opportunity and a lesson to grow. And that's what I literally did after that. I literally sulked for probably an hour and a half, called some people to console me and lick my wounds. And I went back in. I'm like, all right, I got to fix this now. And I'm glad I did go in there and fix it because it was later shared with others about 2 weeks later. So I'm glad I made the improvements in my plan. Still could have did more to it. I'm still going to do more to it. And I think in terms you said, looking at things as a learning opportunity helps you build your confidence. For me, the other things that's helped me build confidence is truly asking for feedback. And what I mean by that is, okay, I'm going to do a presentation and, I'm feeling confident on the subject, but sometimes I need to go ahead and share that with others so my thoughts become more organized, number one. And then number two, asking for help. Like, how do you feel like asking for help connects to building one's confidence?
Well, I think it either solidifies the direction that you're going or it helps you become more clear on what direction you should be going. And I think you kind of touched on it too. The more you can prepare for something, the more confident you are going to feel about what you're doing.
And I believe in that proper preparation for provides positive results. Change that my phrase a little bit on that. But doesn't also sometimes can over preparation get into it? And then you talked about this earlier about overthinking in terms of not helping your confidence.
Well, I think overthinking it is not preparing and just thinking that you are prepared, where you haven't actually put the work in because you have been thinking about what the result is going to be before you've even taken the action to get to the result.
Expound on that. Explain that a little bit more.
Well, I think sometimes we think about, okay, I'm going to go in and do this presentation, and you're thinking like, I know all this stuff, but I haven't put the work in behind it to present it in the right way or share it in the right way or however. But I think you overthink like, how am I going to explain this and how am I going to make this so fantastic and in my presentation to like wow everyone, where you're losing the message and what you're sharing. And so you start to overthink everything, like how you're going to do it so perfectly versus just actually doing it and preparing to know the information.
You make a good point there. One of the other ways to build confidence is know the information. But I think too, though, there's a lot of things, at least I've done, where I had no clue what the hell I was doing. And I had to just, figure it out until I figured it out. Um, what about those situations? When you don't know what you're doing, when you don't know what the outcome is, because there's so many things that are not in your control.
Well, that's when you ask for help.
Yeah. There's actually a principle in the book Think and Grow Rich. It's called the Mastermind Principle. If you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, I'm actually going through it again. I've been actually listening to the book, the actual him speaking the book, Napoleon Hill. Um, and there's a principle called the Mastermind Principle. Now, mind you, this book was written in 1937, and it's still an all-time classic, best-selling book. And he talks about, some of the most successful things that have ever been accomplished is not because someone went ahead and approached something all by themselves. For example, the Constitution was an example of people getting together, putting together an idea, and leveraging the confidence of one another. Hey, you know what? I may not be able to do this by myself, but I'm a lot stronger with others. Thomas Edison, they talk about how his discipline and getting together with a certain selected a group of people, on a consistent basis makes a difference. I could say the difference in terms of build my confidence is when I have these ideas and my thoughts in my mind, and then I don't share them with, for example, with you, but when I do share them with you, and sharing them alone helps me organize my thoughts around it, but also getting a different perspective on it because I can come at things with a certain lens. Is there a balance in that though? Asking for too much help versus simply just going and doing it.
Well, I think that might fall into the overthinking part of it, like um, just being like you're saying. I'm trying to remember what you all said.
Well, what I'm saying is like, when I'm building my confidence, sometimes, we talk about asking for help because you don't have to do things alone.
Right.
But does there come a point where you're getting too much external feedback that could actually hurt your confidence?
Yeah, I think then you start to question yourself and what your actual abilities are instead of just being able to trust in yourself and know that, they're offering you help. Yes. Is it pertinent to the message you're trying to deliver or the outcome that you're trying to achieve? Is it helping you or is it overwhelming you with too much information that doesn't necessarily pertain to what you're trying to accomplish?
Right. Right. And that's where I think, in building your confidence, one's got to be careful with saying the words, can I get your opinion on this? Because you tell someone, get my opinion on this, they're going to tear it apart. Versus, what are your thoughts on this? It's two different words, but two different outcomes. Like the sentiment behind it is the same for both. But by using opinion versus thoughts can change the result you get on it. So we talked about a few things in terms of building confidence, asking for help. Number two, the preparation prior to it, knowing what you're going to be doing. But also at the point though is what you talked about. The third thing is changing our perspective and how we're looking at it. And for me, I'll sometimes ask myself the question, what's the worst thing that's going to happen here? Is anyone going to die or go to jail? And I know that may seem a little dramatic, but it puts in perspective like, okay, all right, this is going to be all right. And for me, what I've had to get over, example for me is I'd occasionally post videos back in the day on like Instagram or make videos. And I think, I look at some of my first talks I've ever given. They were terrible, right? I still have talks that are not the best in terms of my expectation. But again, it goes back to, when I started to post videos consistently on Instagram and people tell me how they look forward to those videos. Like they wake up looking at their Instagram, hoping that I had posted a video. And sometimes I would think my videos completely were sucking, but that's not the point. Like there was a message that was inside of me and it was meant to be shared with others. And it's not up to me who receives that message. So that's what's helped me. Like, okay, just go out and do it. Just do it. Document it. Like, before you look good, you gotta be okay with looking ugly. What can you share like a time and when you had to like learn how to like really break through and get over that quote unquote perfection thing? Because I think that's the thing for a lot of people in terms of how to have more confidence is that they feel they have to be perfect at it.
Well, I think a couple of times, like obviously teaching group fitness classes, having to get over the fear of being in front of people and how am I performing up there? Like, what do I look like? Am I looking like an idiot? And getting over the fact of what I look like versus looking at it as how am I helping somebody out there increase their fitness, become better and healthier. And then going into and through COVID, understanding like when we were doing the rare leader calls, like I don't know what I was going to share. And it may have been like scary as heck talking on some of those calls, but understanding like whatever message I was talking about wasn't about what I looked like, but maybe the message was going to land with somebody that could help somebody that was going through something similar in a situation. How was that helping someone else? And understanding that it wasn't about me and what I looked like, but how could I share in a way that was going to impact somebody else? And if it didn't, it didn't. If it did, it did. It wasn't about me. It was about what the message was that was going out.
And that's such a great point. I think so often we make things about us. And by making it about us, we actually hold ourselves back. Because we got to look, I mean, don't get me wrong, you should present yourself well. You should hold yourself well. You don't want to look like, you just rolled out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, or rolled into bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I think that's a good point is asking, like, how am I being able to add value to others by doing this? Like, imagine if it all went right instead of thinking it was always go wrong. And you got to look at both sides of the coin. But like you said earlier, you can't overthink it because I believe is that we're given opportunities for a reason and they may not go perfectly. However, though, if it's continually not going perfectly, you got to stop because it's going to keep happening until you figure it out. And that's where over the years, I really leaned to studying and learning and reading and listening to podcasts and going to talks, because I know there's a lot of things that I'm growing in as a leader, as a husband, as a father, as a friend, as a human being. And by going back to what we talked about earlier on this call, when you change the way you look at things, the way you look at things change. And it goes back to your point. It's like, okay, how can I help someone today? Like this morning, I asked myself, okay, who can I add value today to? Who can I help have a great day? So I think those are all things important to think about how to have more confidence. So in summary, we talked about number one, don't overthink it, right? Is anyone going to die or go to jail by you doing it? No. Okay. So there's going to be a lesson or a win learned there. Number two, ask for help. Number three, do some proper preparation in it. Number four, remember, it's not about you. Am I missing one? I think there was a five. I'm missing one of them.
Okay.
So there's
right, because I thought we talked
about because the more you talk things out, your thoughts become organized, and you'd be like, oh yeah, what about this? I would say for like a final word of encouragement for myself is, we said in the beginning, you don't have to fake it till you make it. Because I think that's a lot of work. I think you just got to own where you're at, own who you are, and faith it until you make it. Faith is believing in the unseen before it's seen. And you're going to have fears. You're going to have doubts. You're going to have self-talk that you're going to have to get over. Yet when there's that intuition, for me at least, saying, you know what, I am doing the right thing here. I'm making an impact. You know, I heard this quote yesterday. Success is not so much about what you do, but success is about how much you can give to others. So those are my thoughts when it comes to how to build confidence. Danielle, if you go ahead and wrap us up on some thoughts on how to build confidence.
Well, I think it's just about preparing and understanding what you can control in the situation. Whatever you're trying to gain confidence in, I don't think it's limited to one thing or the other. I think it's in life in general, your confidence. Just continuing to do something versus hiding and shying away from attempting.
There you go. Well, folks, if you get value in today's conversation, feel free to go and put your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share this with others. We're on Twitter live on Tony Jalen. We're at Rare Leaders on YouTube and also Rare Leaders in a private Facebook group. So I'm Tony Jalen with
Danielle Jalen.
wonderful. Hey, go ahead and be a rare leader. Be resourceful, adaptable, resilient, and willing to engage with others to go out and make an impact. Until next week, onward and upwards.